Hey, this is Gary with Jolly Dolly, and I'm going to show you how to palletize a motorized dolly. So you're going to need a standard 48 by 40 pallet, and you want to orient it long ways like this. This is the 48-inch dimension here. You're going to need two pieces of lumber that are 40 inches long, or the exact width of the pallet. You'll need some type of a screw gun or impact, and a few 3.5 to 4 inch long wood screws. You'll also need some stretch wrap. All right, so the easiest way to get it on the pallet is to reverse it onto the pallet. So you're going to lift up the back wheels and drive it backwards until the front wheels touch the pallet. Then you're going to set it down on the back wheels, and you're going to give it a little bit of throttle in reverse while pulling on the dolly, and it will come right up onto the pallet. Then you're going to stand it up, and you're going to make sure it's centered on the pallet. And then you want to drive it forward until the front of the plate is about 1/2 inch away from the edge of the pallet. This is how it should look when you have it correctly positioned on the pallet. Don't forget to turn the dolly off. Now, starting at the back of the dolly, we're going to place our first piece of lumber right behind the tires. It's going to act as a chock so the dolly can't roll back. You want to make sure that both ends are flush with the pallet. It should not be sticking out at all. Then we're going to hold that in place with our foot. We're going to put our screws in place. Now these screws have to go down into the stringer of the pallet. This is the stringer. You don't want anything sticking out underneath that's going to interfere with the forks on the forklift. Now at the front of the dolly, we're going to put this piece of lumber across the plate and right up against the fenders. We don't want any gap between the lumber and the dolly. Then we're going to run these screws down. Run it down until the first screw gets a good bite, but not all the way. Then you're going to switch sides. Come over here. If you need to, use your foot to hold it down. Remember, we need to go into the stringers on the pallet. This is why a 4-inch screw is better. 3.5 will suffice. Now, do not over tighten these. You're still going to have a gap under there. If you run them down too far, you're gonna bend the pallet and screw things up. Right about there. Now it's nice and secure. The dolly's not going anywhere. So this is secure enough to ship like this, especially for a used dolly. On a new dolly, we always strap them, and you can do this too. You probably don't have a fancy strapping reel like this, but you can use ratchet straps. Now, if you're using ratchet straps, you can just put one hook here, go under, and then put the other hook in the same spot and tighten. Now the last step is going to be to wrap it with some of this stretch wrap. Now if you're shipping a used dolly, you might think this step is optional, and it could be if you're not worried about little scratches or scuffs. But the problem you may have is some freight companies are not going to accept the freight if it's not wrapped. So I recommend you just go ahead and wrap it. Then you don't have any surprises when they show up to pick up the dolly. Start up high and make sure you get the top of the dolly covered. When you get to the rear wheels, go all the way around. Then stop and wrap your entire rear wheel structure. When you're done wrapping, if you're not dizzy, you probably didn't wrap it good. To ship your dolly, you're going to need a document called a bill of lading. You want to print 3 copies of this. Copy number 1, you're going to put on the dolly itself. If you don't have a fancy little plastic pouch like this, just put tape over it. Copy number 2 is going to go to the shipping company. So it will either be given to the freight driver if they're picking it up from you, or you will give it to the freight terminal when you drop the dolly off. Copy number 3 goes to you. Now, the dolly itself, as well as both copies of those bill of ladings that go to you and the terminal, all need to have stickers applied to them that have what's called a pro number. And you want to make sure yourself verify that is the same number that they stick on the dolly and that they put on your copy and their copy of the bill of lading. That pro number, you will need that to track the dolly. And that's it, folks. Have a jolly day.